Hello, 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 ladies. It is so
Hello.
wonderful to be here. And hello, guests. Well, what I want to let you know that you are on right now, Exhale with Regina. Shh. And the purpose of Exhale with Regina is really to help women to see themselves. Yes, to help women in seeing themselves and making sure that we are inspiring those who want to see themselves but just feel like that they are against so much. I want to encourage you today that I have three amazing women who have done the work and who are out there working with women internationally and nationally. So again, Exhale with Regina is designed to help women to see themselves. Many women do not see their gifts, their talents, and abilities, and it keeps them stuck in shame, false guilt, comparison, low self-esteem, and a poor self-image. Women can struggle with embracing themselves based on societal norms, family expectations, and distorted thoughts towards themselves. Women who embrace themselves, they embrace their beauty, not the beauty that we see on the outside, not the beauty the way society defines it, but their God-given beauty. Our beauty is tied to our purpose. So Exhale and Enlighten Hearts are champion to shine a light on what is hidden but ready to be seen. And so, ladies, thank you so much for being here because we are ready for it to be seen. I hear a lot of clicking in the background. I don't know, do you ladies hear that? It's a lot of clicking. I'm not sure where that is coming from. But okay, here, let me just see what one of our guests is saying to us. Hello, 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 Erica. Thanks so much for joining. So again, I'm not sure. It almost sounds like a computer or something, like someone's hitting keys. I'm not, and it don't seem like any of you ladies are. So I don't have an idea where that clicking is coming from. So in a minute, what I'm gonna ask everybody to do, if you just mute for a second, your lines, and maybe we can maybe get rid of some distractions that way. And then as I begin to talk, you can just come off bring it off of mute, okay? But I want to start with Dr. Sally. Dr. Sally, I had an opportunity to meet you and really virtually meet you, right? By joining your group. I'm not even sure how I came across your group other than it talked about women empowerment. And that's what I love. And I saw that in encouragement. And then when I became a part of the group, I really began to experience what your group and organization that you run is really all about. So can you tell us about your brand story and how you started your group?
Yeah, so so the group is called Women of Wisdom and Courage, and I'm a women's empowerment coach, and I specialize in supporting women that are in or have been in abusive relationships, particularly with narcissistic partners. There's a lot of psychological abuse that happens with that, and emotional abuse, and helping women to heal and overcome that and move forward and rebuild their lives and create the life that they deserve and have a right to have. So I've had a pattern of relationships like that. I'm now happily married, but I did that 10 years ago and went on my own healing journey. And then 2 years ago, I decided doing the tours. I kept thinking, actually, these would be brilliant for women that were in the situation that I was in 10 years ago, together with the things that helped me at the time, together with understanding more about the impact of trauma and how to heal from it. So a Facebook group, sort of 2 o'clock one morning when I couldn't sleep, and thought, well, if a few people come in, and it's a space for a few women. And now there are 3,000 women in the group from all over the world. and we've, you know, published a book and done lots of things. So it's based on my own experience and knowing how that feels and wanting to support other women to have that space and find their voice, as you say.
Yes, and what I read in your bio, really your story about connecting with self, source, and sisterhood, and healing from abusive relationship yourself. You kind of went in and out. What really caught my attention when you say you ended up on your own eat, pray, and love journey. That had to be powerful. Yeah. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a
So
little bit about your journey?
yeah. Sorry, I was saying before we came on, my sinuses are really bad, so excuse me. So after I'd left that relationship, I was very blessed and privileged, which, you know, a lot of women won't be, but I didn't have children at the time. I was able to work online. So I was able to literally put an ocean between us and to travel. So I went to New York. So I'm from the UK. I went to New York for 3 months. So basically, having a British passport, you can usually turn up and they'll let you in for 3 months in most places. So I went to New York for 3 months and met some amazing people that I'm still friends with today. I kind of would walk around Central Park and go to museums and journal and write, and went to sort of meditation sessions and all this kind of thing. And then because I got interested in Buddhism and mindfulness and meditation, and that really helped, I then next went to Kathmandu, Nepal. So somebody that I actually met at a meditation session in New York had friends over there, and I said, oh, I've been wondering about going there, and he said, hey, I can connect you with people, you know. So I was there for 3 months as well in Kathmandu, and I lived with Buddhist monks and
Wow.
was teaching. They were learning English, so they wanted to pass out the teachings of Dharma to Westerners. So in exchange for helping them with their English and doing conversation partnering, they put me up. I had my own room. I'd get 3 meals a day, and it was obviously a beautiful space to be in, to read and journal and connect back with myself. And then I was in the UK for about 6 months, and I did some work here, and then thought, actually, I'm enjoying traveling. You know, I fit in this to my life from work. Where should I go next? So I went to Kenya, see where this is going to go, because, you know, I went to Kenya to do, again, for 3 months, and did a turtle conservation project, and thought, and then I'll just kind of, you know, go to different places, see what happens. And then I met somebody who was a music producer out of a studio, you know, back out doing. So I went to the studio. I'm now married to the owner of the recording studio. It's the short version. So I met my husband when I was traveling in Kenya, and that was nearly 9 years ago now. And we have 2 children. And but I'd really spent that 18 months having left my focus on
Yeah, you're cutting out a little. I think you're starting to freeze a little bit. But I thank you for sharing that and about the abuse you had gone through, and now you are sharing your story with 3,000 women in your group, which is phenomenal. And to watch that group grow the way it has. So I'll come back to you and we can talk more. But I want to go to Sharon. Sharon Shannon. Yes. Yes. So let me just, Sharon, what really caught me as I was going over your bio is in Sharon's heart, women of movement. That's really powerful. In Sharon's heart. And Sharon, reading about you and knowing you being a woman of faith and encouraging other women, tell me how you got started on your own journey.
Yeah, so it got started from a period from a place of non-clinical depression. Yes, I was low. You ever been low, everybody? You ever been low? You can go higher when you're low. Yes, yes, yes. It just takes some work. And I was willing to put in the work. And the irony about it is that I didn't even know how non clinically depressed I was until I got out of it. So yeah, I was recently discharged from the Air Force voluntarily. Decided to just get out. It wasn't a good move, and it wasn't a good decision to do that when I was recently divorced and I had two small children. But nevertheless, I wanted to try something different. So I found myself really low. No, I had a decent job when I got out. I worked at a computer company. I was in California at the time, having traveled to many, many countries, and decided to get out. And it wasn't that bad initially, but it got even worse when I decided to leave from California to South Carolina, because I had a friend who I was stationed with, and she and I were married to our husbands at the time overseas. And so we stayed in touch. She and her husband ultimately got a divorce. So she asked me to come to South Carolina to live in her house when she went back overseas for 3 months. So I decided to take the move, and decided to fly at the last minute instead of drive 3 days with two kids alone. And I had no uh, furniture. I had no car. They were all in storage in California. And it was a culture shock. And I found myself in a low place. However, though, life started getting better. I got another degree. I bought a house. I joined a great church. And I was doing a lot of things, being a good mother. And so life got better. Nevertheless, though, down deep, I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. I wasn't training and coaching and consulting with faith-based slash Christian women to use their voice to speak on virtual and live stages. So I help them do that. And I do that from a place of really just being low and listening to a bunch of people who I don't really think all of them had my best interest. And so it was a low place. And here I am now training them to speak, even though during that time I also felt like my mouth was muzzled, that people wanted to just, I was around some chickens at the time, and decided that I would no longer be with the chickens anymore. I would choose to soar as an eagle. So here we are.
Wow, how powerful. And you know that you kept going in the depressed state. That is so powerful, because you're right. We can go up, we can rise. And I can really relate to your story. So now, Sharon, you have a women's movement group. You give conferences globally. You help women you inspire them to use their voices, their talents, their gifts, their God given gifts and talents, and to be driven by faith. How, how do women move in that direction with you? How are they accepting the message?
Yeah, so it starts with the story. We all have a story, right? And because we all have a story, we can use that story to inspire people. It always starts with the story. Some people think that they've gone
Yes.
through a lot of things for nothing, but the point is, the story is the impetus for many great things. So I help them craft their talk based on the story. The story is the connector. So when
Yes.
people think, women in particular, that the trauma, the things that happened to us, the things we even initiated that we're not proud of, the things we want to talk about. We can talk about the things we want to talk about. When some people say, oh, you know, well, you've been through this, you have a sensational story, it could be a movie or a book. And what if you're like, I don't want to tell that story? I'm here, I'm healed, I'm emotionally healed, I'm good to go. I just don't
Right,
want to
right,
talk
right.
about that. So I always tell the women, talk about something you want to talk about. Leverage that into a signature story, and then put some other elements to it to speak and inspire and encourage people, because none of us go through anything alone.
That's
I mean,
right.
not only alone, we're not really alone. I thought I was alone when I was down and out, but we don't go through anything for nothing either. We can take that story,
Mm.
and many great things can come from that story. So I hope the women, through the Women of Movement, that's also an extension of In Sharon's Heart, because In Sharon's Heart came from a place of just being low. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to do something more
Mhm.
than just going to work and just being a mother and serving at my church and getting degrees. I want to be more than that. I want to do more than that. What else
Mhm.
can I do to help women, empower women, um, just inspire women to dig deep and say, you know
Yes.
what, I too can use my gift, my story to help other people. So that's how Women of Movement came about, moving throughout the earth, and let's move together to make an impact.
Thank you for sharing that. I love the energy of that. Kim, now I'm here with you. And if you can tell me, so Kim, what I said in the workshop with you, and it was the hag in the attic. Yes, it was. And I want to say you called her Gilda, or I can't even remember. But about a month or two prior to me hearing you, because I am a counselor, I named my hag in the attic. I just didn't know it was called that. Okay. And you coined that phrase. And I know that you also inspire women to find their voices in their bold voice. And so, can you tell me about your story?
Yeah, sure. And I just have to say, you know, it never fails that in the afternoon on Friday, someone's out mowing their lawn, and it couldn't have stopped just in time. So, you know, we always have that noise and life, you know, being at home. But anyways, yeah, Regina, you know, I was the child that was told to be seen and not heard. So I did it. I was seen and I was not heard all the way into my adult life. When I first got out of high school and I was climbing a corporate ladder, I was living based upon other people's opinions. And I thought if I did A, B, and C, I would be and I was successful, by the way. But I thought I would be successful in the acceptance of society. In other words, faking it until you make it, imposter syndrome, and you should, those shoulds, be living a certain way. So yeah, my inner critic, aka the hag in the attic, was really, she was driving me. And until about when I was 48 years old, I fell asleep at a major intersection in the middle of the day, not once, but twice. I didn't even know I was tired. I was mentally and emotionally tired, but I didn't know I was tired to the point I would fall asleep. Thank God nobody got hurt. And that was a very huge turning point for me to really clean my voice up and flip things around, and really start learning how to manage my hag, my mindset, so it wasn't controlling me.
That is awesome. And you know, it's funny that you would say that. I think about my parents, right? I was supposed to be seen and not heard, but I have to say I took it the other way around. I was a loud one, and no, you're not gonna shut me up. But it was seen. It was for me to be seen and not heard. And I remember my mother sharing with me that that was expected of her. And so for us, all four of us, four of us, finding our voices is awesome. And so that's what leads me to, how do you encourage, Kim? I'll start with you. How are you encouraging women now? Because you want them to find that bold voice. And we still live in a society that still tries to tell women to be seen and not heard.
Gosh, that's a great question, Regina. And yes, and by the way, I can relate. You know, I was told to be seen and not heard, and boy, I got even louder and was called bossy and all that stuff.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure a lot of us experienced. But what I do now is coaching and consulting. Women hire me to really take ownership of their bold voice on their terms. It's like I always say, success, but do success on your terms, not what you think society, or when you get X amount of money in a bank account, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So I work with corporate thought leaders, women in corporate, to really change up their communication. So A, they're not walking into meetings with the imposter syndrome, and B, so they're communicating more effectively to pull up emerging to show other women that we can be in corporate and be very successful and do this and be very authentic. The other side of that is working with the entrepreneurs and helping them pull together their story, or like Sharon was saying, their story, their signature talk, because again, we are forced into a society. We're supposed to be sitting, standing, and speaking a certain way, and our stories don't matter when our stories is the connection piece with our audience. And it also it's humanizing. It's very much humanizing. So I help a lot of women work through that mindset. So when the spotlight of visibility is on them, they're ready to rock and roll.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Sharon, you seem like you have a comment to that. Go ahead.
I love the rock and rolling. That's right. Yes. Don't we all want to rock and roll? And whatever that means to all of us, yes, living in our purpose. And I know that word is overrated. I like it though, nevertheless. And we all have a mission here in life, and we're still standing in life, and we're still standing. So why can't we use our story to inspire others? Why don't we go through it if we're just sitting around being low about it? We can flip that.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
why I like what you're doing here, Regina, that Dr. Sally and Kim are doing the same thing with their lives. Everything they've been through, it's a culmination of who we are today, and you as well, Regina. Why not turn that into good for somebody who needs to hear our voice? That's why I love this.
Yes, yes, Sharon. That is so true. It just piggybacking on the rock and rolling, right? So your favorite verse, at least you put in your bio, was James 2:17.
Yeah.
And it talked about faith without works is dead. That you need to have action, right? And that's really what the rocking and rolling is about.
Yes.
However, women, once again, we are looked at least I was, and you ladies, if you want to comment to that, I was looked at as being aggressive when I had something to say, labeled about being too bossy, what Kim said, or being too vocal, not listening to what others had to say. And it wasn't just men doing that, it was women as well. What can we say to that? Because sometimes women can be one another's worst enemies. What, whoever wants to take that, Sally or Kim or Sharon, or whoever wants to take that, feel free.
Well, ladies, if you don't mind, I want to jump in on that one, because this is
okay.
One of the biggest pet peeves is that lack of collaboration and support. And we get into the comparison and competition. And those are two C words I believe need to be removed from our vocabulary, that comparison and that competition. Look, if we're a professional athlete, okay, then I understand the competing. I do. But number one, there's enough business out there for all of us. And number two, my voice is not heard unless I am sitting side by side with Dr. Sally and supporting her in her voice. My voice is not heard. The same thing with Sharon, unless I'm sitting side by side with her, and as you as well, Regina. We all need to uplift and support, and showing up so authentically with vulnerability. I'm a Brene Brown fan. I own it big time. And showing up, and not showing up isn't blaming or being a victim, but showing up and going, look, gosh, my partner looked at me sideways when I was walking out the door, and I feel like hell, or I'm tired of really owning my voice, and people are calling me a bitch, excuse me for saying it, but it's true. We do get labeled, and it's just getting very confident in how you utilize your bold voice. Again, if you're yelling, screaming, blaming, victim, which I like to say, Miranda and the Devil Wears Prada, we are going to get labeled, and you're not going to be heard. And, all you're going to be hearing is that bossiness and that, bitch and all of that. We need to really come in where our shoulders are down, chest is open, root chakra, tailbone is grounded, and we're so clear and confident, even though we might be showing up a little messy or a little bit more happier than it was yesterday, and just go straight forward and say it.
I love that. Dr. Sally, did you want to say something to that?
Just enjoying listening. I'm sorry, I had internet problems before. That's why I disappeared. And now I've had to put my phone on charge. So yeah, it's really interesting. I think there's like one of the models that I use is when you were talking about victim, is helping women get out of disempowering a sort of archetype. So one of them is that kind of angry sort of kind of being perceived as being a bitch. If we feel angry or we speak out or we own our voice, or being in victim mode and feeling powerless, or doing everything for everybody but ourselves and being in martyr, and instead learning to find that kind of soft power, so our own feminine energy and power. And so through channeling, there's sort of 5 like women's power types. There is queen, sorceress, warrioress, mother, and lover, and there are all these kind of soft power energies. But so it's interesting anyway, because I think that very much speaks to that, you know, women finding their voice, but in a way where we don't have to be in that masculine and shout the loudest, and you know, but just really kind of standing in our own truth and doing it authentically. And I'm still learning to do that, you know. I think we're all kind of a work in progress, aren't we? And
Yes.
it's safe to do so, you know.
Yes, finding that safe place. Sharon, did you want to comment?
I just love what we're doing, because when we have discussions like this is inspiring us, right? We're always encouraging us. And when women realize that it's all about the story, there was, I remember years ago when I was in South Carolina and I was moving to North Carolina, I remember one a friend said to me, she said, I heard you were leaving. We heard you were leaving. And I was going to leave many times before that, but I chickened out, because you know how it is when some of the people you're around are chickens. So you kind of, even if you're an eagle, you start acting like a chicken if you're in a chicken coop. And it's just a mindset.
Yeah, it's right. Mindset.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So she said, I heard you were leaving. And I said, yes. She said, you'll be back. So I thought about that. And I was in the bed that night and I was thinking, she's right. I'm not going to go. I was starting to have these doubts. And then it's like the Holy Spirit came in and I just got like a second wind. And I said, I am leaving. And I said, this has been going on, this mindset of holding back an eagle for so long that I bought into it. And I stayed in just a mediocre place, just average, just comfortable. And every time I started dipping my toe in the water, things like this were said. And sometimes it was direct and sometimes it was indirect. And I bought into it for many years. And I decided to go for it and never look back. God was moving throughout. And I could tell you this, I was going to use this move and plan this move better than the first move when I got out the Air Force. So everything was planned out. I had a great job lined up. I had a place to live, everything. And I remember when, before I bought my house here, I remember going to rent a townhouse. And I remember saying to the property manager, I was just filling out paperwork and everything. And I said to her, because she was done, she said, okay, well, thank you so much. And this and that and this and that. And I said, are you going to take the deposit? She wasn't going to take the deposit because just for whatever reason, should have kept it. So anyway.
Right.
But anyway, just things like that. I mean, it just was so natural. So when you're starting to move out and you're starting to really believe that you really can soar, that you really are a tiger, that you really are a lioness, you really are an eagle, you really, really are, you're unstoppable once that belief starts. So we have to say it. I use a faith model when I train the women I train to speak. And my faith model is that we have to say it, we have to believe it, and we have to do the work. And one of the things that I created when I was creating my faith model, Regina, you've seen this many times, right? It's my faith model, right?
Okay.
And you see the arrows, right? The arrows are just going around and around. So some people might be able to speak everything they're going to do. They might even trust God for it, but they might not do the work.
Okay.
Or they might really be going through the motions, doing the work and grinding and doing great things, right? And they're speaking it, but they don't really believe it's going to happen, right? Or they could say it, but they're not believing it and they're not even doing anything. So this, once we have all three, the cycle continues in any and every goal we want to set up. So that's what I started doing in my life. I started using my faith model when people were asking me, how did you go from here to there? How are you doing it, Sharon? I was like, yeah, how am I doing it? I got rid of TV, number one. I have TV, but I don't have cable on it. And I stopped listening to music radio and I started reading more books. I rewrote my goals and I listened to podcasts and I didn't hang out around with the chickens anymore.
You know, that's really powerful because it really goes back to what Kim and Dr. Sally was saying too, is that we do have to grind. We have to rock and roll. We have to move in action. And there are ways of doing that. And what I'm also understanding is that neither one of you use the same method to move women forward, right? There are various methods and various ways that women can do this. I have some comments, so I want to go to it. And sorry, it took me a minute. Okay. So Erica said, same here. Regina, remember we were daughters of thunder. Yes. And I'm not sure what the remark was about. But the women were talking, Erica. But Erica and I, we are ministers together. As a matter of fact, we're more than ministers at the same church at one point. We were ordained together, and they called us the Sisters of Thunder. It was three of us that were ordained, and we used to have a ball together. And in the ordination, so let me share this. In the ordination, Calantha was a little bit more outspoken than I was, and then it was me. But Erica, definitely a woman of thunder, but she was seen as more the mild and tempered one. And so they really wanted to fire up me and Calantha. But we all had that thunder, and it was just amazing how we were taken by the committee. We all were ordained, but it was amazing how the men, and there was a couple of women, I think, and mostly men who were ordaining us. But we were outspoken and still are. So just even in the church, that can be a challenge for women. Standing up and believing that that's a whole nother ball game of God calling us and moving on us. I have a Facebook person that says, hello, sisters. And then a person says, what an amazing panel. I want to encourage you to go to StreamYard/Facebook, and we will be able to see your names. Here, Sharon Faith Model, say it, believe it, and do it. I love Sharon's work. All right. And then here we go. Ego focus. I love it. So knowing this, women, and again, whoever wants to take this question, because we can also, in the grinding, moving into action, knowing that we have stories and we want to encourage other women to do so. How do we find the work-life balance? How do we find that? Because we do need to have some fun. Eat, pray, and was it have fun, Dr. Sally? So how do we do that and still be able to grind? So I'll start with Dr. Sally. I'll start with you. How do we keep that balance? Because you have little ones now.
Yeah, I've got 2 children. The small one's 4. It's hard. I think you can know the things and then you have to try and implement it. I think it's useful to understand that we can't give from an empty source, you know. So you have to fill your own cup so that it's overflowing and you have something to spare and to give out, you know. So it's important that we replenish. I say this, I need to take my own advice, but I know the theory. But it is important, you know, to do that and to have balance. And I think it's interesting because when you said about and still sort of then doing the grind, I think a lot of people talk about being in flow, don't they? That actually, if we have more balance, we can flow more and it sort of comes more easily, you know, and we don't have to grind and hustle as much. But yeah, I think looking after ourselves is key.
I love that. And so let me just ask a piggyback. I want to piggyback on that question, and Sharon or Kim, if you want to answer that. I love the flow, the grind, because we can grind and hustle and really push to, to do the work, because it's a lot of work in what we're doing. And also, again, finding that work-life balance, right? So what are some things that you do to find it, Sharon, and then I'll go to Kim. What are some things that you do to really flow and to find it, and to just accept yourselves in that space?
I like to talk to people who like to talk about great things. So I have friends. I felt friendless at one point. I felt like I was alone in my problems and my regrets in life. And I felt like I couldn't trust people. That's how In Sharon's Heart originated. It originated from a place of uh, where I felt like I was betrayed, and just a negative time, a dark time in my life. And so I said to myself, let me learn if I'm going to balance this thing called life, and if I'm going to go to be happy and joyful and friendful, then I'm going to have to make, number one, make myself friendly, right? Not that I wasn't before. When I say that, I had to be more open to even disappointment, and not go in and say, oh, I'm not going to trust you because I know you're going to mess up.
Yes.
That's not a healthy place. So that's how so that's how In Sharon's Heart came to be. I wanted to be more vulnerable in my heart, sharing my heart with people to inspire them and say, look, this is what I've been through. This is sometimes what I'm going through. So I was like, if I name it In Sharon's Heart, I can't escape from that. I got to be up front, right? So I think balance happens when we are vulnerable, when
Yes.
when we're saying I need help, and we're not waiting for anybody to say, do you need help? Because some people can't read out. Nobody can read our minds, right? Oh, the church didn't reach out to me, and they know. How do they know? Who did you talk to? Or this entity or this friend. I had a friend. I had a distant friend who's one of her family members passed away. And the family member was quite in upper age, I think 80s or 90s, and she'd never said anything. And then eventually she spoke to me and she said, I just want to let you know my family member passed away and nobody reached out to me. I was like, well, I didn't know. How in the world you expect people to
Yeah.
reach out to you? Come on, somebody. So we have to be able to be more open. That's how that's how
I
balance can
love that.
happen. That's how we can start the word balance from um, incapacitating us thinking that we have to be all things to everybody. We can start by just being open and seeing what comes out from that.
Yes, yes.
Can I
Kim.
just add?
Oh,
Sorry,
oh,
I'm just
okay. Go
gonna,
ahead,
I'm gonna
Dr.
go,
Sally. Go ahead.
sorry, I'm just going to go to Kim, but just before it leaves my mind, when you were saying that about us being often women particularly, I think, we see it as weakness to ask for help or say I can't do this. So when I mentioned before the power types, we can ask for support from our queen. We can do it in an empowered way because queens seek counsel, and they will gracefully receive. They will allow other people to support them. Yeah. So we can do that. So we can do it from an empowered way. We can channel our queen when we ask for help. So I just wanted to add that.
That is powerful. What here, Kim, I'm gonna let you answer that. Let me just see. It says Facebook user, love, love, love this. And then here's another statement by Erica Monk. I concur, Sharon. When I insist on work-life balance, it's important for me to be honest and transparent with myself. God, my job, family, friends, especially my husband, he can't read my mind. I thank God that he has created a space where I feel safe to be transparent. That is powerful. Yes, go ahead, Kim, and I want to piggyback on some of that. That was powerful. Thank you, Erica.
Yes, that was powerful what Erica shared there. I am not a big proponent on work-life balance. I think work-life balance is a myth. I really, truly do. I think we need to learn how to negotiate. with our calendars, our schedules, and with our lives. But drop down, no deal here where we sacrifice ourselves. And that's, comes back around to self-care, but going even deeper into soul care. And it's done every single day, whether it's 5 minutes, or one day you have 30 minutes, or you have 5 minutes in the morning and you can take a 5-minute break in the afternoon, and then just deeply exhaling, as Regina would say, before you go to bed. Those are all soulful self-care things that we can do, but it's non-negotiable for me when I take care of myself. I do it every single day, and I'm learning how to implement those self-care pauses throughout the day. And the other thing too is I don't grind and hustle anymore. When I used to grind and hustle, it was not pretty. I was that Miranda and the Devil Wears Prada.
Miranda, that's her name. Okay, yes.
I was not flowing. I was not aligned. And let me tell you, I still go back and forth with it because let's get it done. I'm an ex-high impact aerobic instructor. Let's jump. Let's go higher. Let's get it done. Let's do this. But a lot of times, God doesn't have that plan for us to be going that fast and that grinding. So I like to say I am stepping into grit and grace. Grit and grace.
All right. That's the queen move that Dr. Sally talking about, right? That's the queen move. I love that. And, Kim, the work-life balance is now the buzzword. I don't really have any struggles or trouble with it, but I love what you're saying about it, because we do get and buy into these myths that go on, or these distorted thinking that the world pushes. They push a lot of things, and we can easily buy into it and try to live up to it. And so even when you said the 2 C's, I think what you said, comparison, and what was the other one?
Competition.
Yeah, comparison and competition. And because a lot of times, even now, we live in a society that tends to blame. And you guys talked about that, and moving away from that. So even in the worst hurt. So Sally, I wanted to come to you about that, because when you have gone through a worse hurt, you can blame that narcissist for all the things that they have done in your life when men have been abusive. And even I was talking to a friend today, and he was just even telling me or discussing how he felt that he was once in an abusive relationship. So we know that there are men who are involved, but smaller numbers. So what would you say to that when women can get deeply involved in that blaming space?
I think in terms of blame, it's important that the blame lies with the perpetrator and not the victim. So I think in terms of the wrongdoing, it's correct to blame the perpetrator. Okay. However, I think that sometimes women will often, well, and men, I'm sure, but people will then often go on a bit of a sort of down a rabbit hole of focusing all of their attention on the narcissist, or on the abusive partner. And a lot of that's to do with just trying to understand their mentality and psychology and what happened, and figure things out. But really, it's only when we actually look at the part we played, which isn't about victim blaming, but like for me, as I said, I had a pattern of these relationships, and so that there were lots of. It took many incidents for me to leave because of my own patterns of accepting that in relationships, and so for me what really helped was when I actually started to do that work and go inwards. And so we can only it's that thing, isn't it, of what we can control. We can't control what anybody else is doing. It's only us. So it's about empowerment, sort of going inwards and looking at what am I showing up with, and doing that work. And with the name Women of Wisdom and Courage, it actually stems from the Serenity Prayer, which you may be aware of, but that they use in AA and NA, which I heard years ago when I worked for a charity that supported prisoners that were in recovery. And so for people that don't know it, so it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so for me, that was very much speaking to understanding what we can change and what we can't. We can spend a lifetime, blaming them, trying to figure them out, but really it's about, having the wisdom to go inwards and the courage to step away from them and look at ourselves and, empower ourselves and move forwards.
I love that, because that's the truth right there. And you answered it so well, because we do have to think about ourselves, our role. And that doesn't mean that a person didn't do what we say they have done to us. But what I really heard you say, we can't get stuck there, because it's all about us and not the other person, because we can't control what other people do. And I think that's in any story, right? That's in all of our stories, of how we move ourselves. I'm hearing that noise, and I'm holding my head so tight. I'm like, because I know, Sharon, you said, is it your earrings? I'm like, I don't know, it's my earrings. I'm trying to hold my head so tight. But just really looking at ourselves, taking care of ourselves. And the way we do that a lot of times is inviting others in, letting go of the shame and the guilt. And so, Kim, I want to come to you about that. Who have you invited into your circle to live a more healthy life? Who are your mentors?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I have quite a few. Back when I was talking about when I fall asleep at the red light, that's where I got home safely and started making some phone calls. That was the first thing I did. Started reaching out to my community and started making just connections and saying, help, I need help. So at that time, there was a woman in my life. Her name is Ellen Miller, and she holds an organization here, actually, Regina, right here locally in the area that I live in, called Changing Woman. And it's a journey that women can go on. It's a 9-month healing journey for women. And it's the most beautiful work I have ever done. I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful, and it was life-changing for me. So she is definitely a mentor. I love the work of Brene Brown. Currently, my current coach that I followed for a few years and read her book. I'm in her presence now, and she's a beautiful mentor. I have so many women in my life that come in at different times in my life that I turn and that I look to and that I can, reach out to at any given time, that have just provided wisdom, provided love, provided a Kleenex at the time, provided a swift kick in the tushy at the time as well. I'm a type of person that I don't have a problem making phone calls and saying, I'm in trouble, I need help, because I don't like getting close to that rabbit hole, nor do I like being down in that rabbit hole. And it's like Sharon was sharing, earlier, and I have felt like this, where I'm alone. And it's not egotistical, I'm alone and I'm the only one that goes through this. It's feeling alone. And as Brene Brown talks about, and I'm a big believer in this too, when we feel alone, we are disconnected. We're disconnected from ourselves, and we're disconnected from society. When the most thing that we all want is to be connected. So it goes back to, we have to speak up. It's like Sharon was saying, you have to state, you have to ask, I love, that's one of my favorite words, A-S-K, ask. Just ask and be curious and ask.
I love that, because Sharon, you really did speak to that about the young lady saying, hey, I lost somebody, but no one knew. And Erica even spoke to that. And a lot of us can get involved in that mind reading. Husband and wives can get involved in that mind reading. A lot of that happens. So what do you say to that, Sharon? Just wanted to piggyback on what Kim was saying.
Like Kim said, it's about community. I have something, as you know, Regina, called my speaking club. And that is what I use to help women speak. on virtual and live stages. And as you know, I set up platforms for them to do so. And again, I can reiterate that it begins with the story. The story is the connector. The story allows us to get what ails us out because we're talking about it, right? So the thing is, if we don't start talking to people who are in our camp, not yes people, but the people who are going to be there to listen, right? Not to take over the conversation. How many times do we call people and say, you know what, I need someone to talk to, and they start talking about themselves? Oh yeah, I remember when I went through that. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I'm saying to myself, it's not about you now. It's about me right now.
Right. But that happens often. You so
And
right.
it always does, people,
Right.
so I'm much a better listener than I was when I was younger, because it's not about us. Our story really isn't for us. It's for other people to
Yes.
hear that they too can get through things. So what I had to finally start doing is when I really started getting really zoned into what God had for me and what I'm doing now, is I really, really had to tune the distractions out. And
Yes.
one of the things for me was being consistent. I wasn't
Mm.
consistent when I first started my business, and I would just prioritize other people. And we can't do that. We could still uh, take care of our responsibilities and not neglect those. We definitely want to do the adult thing by fulfilling what it is that we need to do here and taking care of the people, places, and things we need to take care of. I'm not uh, at all dismissing those things, but nevertheless, we have to take care of ourselves too. And that means that we have to start being consistent and really zoned in to what we're going to do in our lives. What do we want to build? We have to stop running around scared and afraid to start and saying that confidence is going to come first. It doesn't happen like that. I tried it. It doesn't work. The confidence comes in the doing. The more we do, the more we do. The more we do, the more God does. It's called faith. And
Yes.
faith
Yes. I love
is
that.
the substance of things hoped for, the evidence
Evidence
of
of
things
things not
unseen.
seen.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
Nothing complicated.
Well, Sharon, real quick, because I don't
Yeah.
want to leave you at this moment, but I do need to move to Sally real quick to tell
Yeah.
me about her mentors because we are running out of time. But who are some of your mentors? Did you go on mute?
No,
Oh,
I'm good.
okay, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I don't really have like, well, my friends, I have coach friends,
Okay,
and they are mentors to me.
that's awesome. Okay,
Really. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, all right. What about you, Sally? Anything you want to add to what Kim and Sharon has said? And then who are some of your mentors?
I think I thought of another queen, a sort of queen thing to tell you. So when Sharon was just saying about responsibility and the responsibility we take on, and so often we can take on more than we need to, so it goes back to our own needs again. But queens, we have our realms, and so often it's about choosing with our queen crown on who needs to be in the realm, and actually maybe they need to be outside the realm. And if people aren't in our realm, they will be in somebody else's. They'll be taken care of. So that just came to mind when Sharon was saying that. I think mentors, I don't know. I think we've talked about the great Brené quite a lot, but I think
Yes.
she's just awesome. And my background's in, not that I'm comparing myself to her, but my background's in qualitative research, which is obviously what she does. So
Yes.
yeah, she's awesome. I love that. And when we were saying earlier as well about she famously said, didn't she, that shame dies when our stories are told in safe places. And so talking about that, having those spaces to just be authentic and just to feel safe and share our stories. So yeah, I think probably her. And I think just all the time, just women like you guys, and just women watching, and women who are in my community, and just women that you meet. And I think there is something about the more that you seek to do more and move forward in your own life, that you surround yourself, you attract. It's about alignment, isn't it? Attracting other people that are on a similar mission, similar purpose, and and getting inspiration from them. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, ladies. And I have one more comment. Where did it go? Hold on. It was a comment, here it is. I'm sorry. Here's Sally. Love that, Dr. Sally. Here's Erica. There are a lot of people who just don't belong in our realms. That's very deep. I thought so too, Erica. I thought that was pretty powerful. They outside and not inside. I love that as well. So here we go. Well, I want to make sure and remind me, Sharon, I would never wear these earrings again. Really. So here we go. I have, Kim, I'll go with Kim. Pronounce your middle name for me. I know Kim B. Smith, but I want to get the Boudreaux.
It's Boudreaux, yes.
Oh, Boudreaux. Okay, Boudreaux. Okay. So coach, speaker, and author. And you can definitely get her free gift. She has a 5-day speaking challenge. I'm sorry, okay, here we go. 5 things women do to sabotage their speaking success. You can go to kimbsmith.com for her free gift. Okay. So once again, this is Kim B. Smith. I'm going to keep it there. 5 things women do to sabotage their speaking success. You can go to Kim B. Smith.
Thank you, Regina.
Yes. Then I have Sharon Shannon, speaker, coach, and trainer. You can go to Sharon's for her gift 5-day speaking challenge at www.ensharonheart.com. Sharon, I love that. It just every time I say in Sharon's heart, in heart, because mine is Enlighten Heart, in heart. It just does something to me. So please make sure that you go to Sharon's for her 5-day speaking challenge. Please visit Kim website at kimbsmith.com. Then I have Dr. Sally. Dr. Sally, thank you so much. And certified women's empowerment coach. And you can go to Women of Wisdom and Courage.com, My Red Quilt, to get a copy of her book, My Red Quilt. And it is composed of various authors who are survivors as well as professionals, correct? My Red Coat. Go ahead. You want to say something real quick?
Yeah, no, it's by survivors for survivors. Yeah.
Okay,
and then there's also a guide in there for women who, and then I've written a section as well if women would like to learn how to find their own voice and how to write about their experiences for healing.
That is beautiful. So that was published. Yes. And then you can go to become a part of her group. It's a women's group on Facebook. It's called Women of Wisdom and Courage. And again, I am a part of that group. It is so powerful. Just reading, the women are very active. The women are very engaged, Sally. And I said, I need to come over to you and find out how all this happened. And I'm sure it's just God's grace and leading. But I love the way you lead the women and how you are very protective of the women. So thank you so much for your story, us connecting. And once again, I just want to say what Exhale with Regina is all about. So women, I hope today, those who are listening, those who are going to see Exhale with Regina, it is about women seeing themselves. Many women do not see their gift, their talents and abilities, and it keeps them stuck in shame, false guilt, comparison, competition, that CC that Kim was talking about, talents, low self-esteem, and a poor self-image. Women can struggle with embracing themselves based on societal norms, family expectation, and distorted thoughts towards themselves. This Exhale with Regina is truly all about our wins, adversity, and our challenges, and how we're able to move women in a direction in which they want to go. It's all about movement, right? It's all about us sharing our story openly, doing it with vulnerability, not comparison, no comparison, and moving women, and women also moving us, because it's about us too, right? It's about our story, their story, and us coming together, and as Kim said, collaborating. So I just want to thank you women again for being here. We have 1 minute, so if anybody want to say something in that 1 minute, feel free. And there are no more comments. And thank you, all those who participated. I love you for it, and I love you for being here.
Thank you, Regina, for having us and hosting us.
Yes,
Thank
Erica Monk said,
Thank you.
Insightful Power Hour. Thank you, ladies, and thank you, my friend Regina Hall. Love you. Love you too, Erica, and love you, ladies. Thank you,
Thank you.
and don't go anywhere. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being a part of Exhale with Regina. Thank you. You can go to my website, reginachall.com, and please make comments and let us know how you enjoyed this session. Take care. Bye-bye.